Welcome back to the Deep Dive. I want to start today's conversation in my kitchen, of all places.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
I was standing there this morning, making coffee, and I noticed this one drawer, and I'm sure everyone listening has one. It's the junk drawer.
Ah, yes, the drawer of forgotten things. The land of dead batteries and mystery keys.
That is the one. And inside, buried under some rubber bands, I found the instruction manual for my toaster.
Right.
And it's 20 pages long and has diagrams, safety warnings. It tells me exactly how to get the perfect level of browning on a bagel. And right next to it was the manual for my coffee maker, which is, it's practically a novel.
We do love our manuals. We love knowing how things work, how to get the most out of them.
We do. But then it sort of hit me. I'm standing there using the most complex, sophisticated, high-performance piece of hardware in the known universe, my brain. And I realized I have absolutely no idea where the manual is. I'm just, waking up, pressing buttons, and kind of hoping I don't crash the whole system before lunch.
That really is the universal human condition, isn't it? We are all driving these incredibly powerful machines with no license, no dashboard, and no clue what all the blinking lights mean. We are just winging it.
We are totally winging it. And that is why I am genuinely excited and maybe a little bit nervous about the stack of research we have today. We are doing a deep dive into a book called The NLP Coach, a comprehensive guide to personal well-being and professional success.
It's by Ian McDermott and Wendy Yago.
And looking at this material, the promise they're making is, it's huge. They're basically saying, here's the manual you lost.
It is a very bold promise. And what's so interesting about this specific book is the fusion. It's not just one thing. You have NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, which, deals with the architecture of the mind.
The code, sort of.
Exactly, the code. And then you have coaching, which is very practical, very results-driven. They're smashing these two worlds together to give us a user guide for our own heads.
Okay, before we go any further, I have to address the elephant in the room. When I saw NLP on the cover, my skepticism radar went off. A little ping.
Why is that? I'm curious.
Well, let's be honest. NLP has a bit of a
Yeah.
reputation, right? You hear about it in, sales training or with pickup artists trying to manipulate people. It can feel a little bit like mind control tricks or just some leftover 90s corporate buzzword. Is that what we're dealing with here? Are we learning how to trick people?
I am so glad you brought that up because it's a really common misconception. And yes, you're right, NLP has absolutely been co-opted by some groups for, let's say, less than noble purposes.
Manipulative purposes.
Manipulative purposes. But
Yeah.
at its core, and specifically in the context of this book, it is so much more boring and yet so much more profound than that.
Okay. Boring is good. I like boring if it works.
Think of it less like magic tricks and more like user experience design for your own mind. McDermott and Jago define it as the study of excellence. But really, it's the study of the structure of subjective experience.
The structure of subjective experience. Okay, that's a mouthful. Break that down for me.
It means they aren't interested in what you are thinking about. They don't really care if you're thinking about your grocery list or your childhood trauma.
Right.
They're interested in how you were thinking about it. How do you construct that thought in your head?
So it's not the content, it's the code behind the content.
Exactly. If you're feeling anxious, for instance, traditional therapy might ask, why are you anxious? Is it because your mother didn't hug you enough? And that's a valid question.
Just looking for the origin story.
Right. But NLP asks a different question. It asks, how do you do anxiety right now? Do you make a picture in your head? Is that picture big or small? Is there a voice in your head? Is it loud or soft?
Oh, I see.
It treats your mental state as a program that you wrote, and the good news is, if you wrote it, you can rewrite it.
That is a massive shift in perspective. It really takes the mystique out of emotions and turns them into
Mechanics. Mechanics is the perfect word. It's all about the mechanics of your own mind.
Okay, so that's the NLP part. The other half of the title is coach. Again, I feel like coach is a word that has lost almost all meaning these days.
It's everywhere.
Everyone on Instagram is a life coach.
Yeah.
How does this book define coaching? How is it different from, say, a teacher or a consultant?
They draw a really hard line in the sand here, and it's, I think, crucial for our listeners to get this distinction. They use a sports analogy.
Okay.
In sports, a coach isn't there to play the game for you. And they aren't there to lecture you on the history of baseball, right?
Right. A teacher puts information in, here's the capital of France, here's how you do long division.
Precisely. Teaching views the student as an empty vessel that needs to be filled up with external knowledge.
Got it.
Coaching, as defined in this text, operates on the complete opposite premise. It assumes the vessel is already full. It assumes that you, the client or the listener, already possess all the resources you need.
So I have the resilience, the creativity, the intelligence.
All of it, it's already in there.
So if I have it, why aren't I using it? Why am I stuck?
Because you've lost the keys. Or maybe the pipes are blocked. The coach's job isn't to install new parts in the engine. It's to help you find the keys to start the car that you already own. It's all about facilitating access to what is already there.
I love that distinction. It's so much more empowering. It's not,
Yeah.
I am broken, please fix me.
No.
It's, I am blocked, help me clear the path.
Exactly. And that right there is the mission of this entire deep dive. We're going to look at the NLP view of reality, how to build what they call a compelling future, how to deconstruct failure, and how to master your relationships. We're basically handing the keys back to you.
All right, let's start with the foundation then. Section 1, the NLP view of reality.
The book talks about constructing experience. This sounds a bit like The Matrix. There is no spoon.
It is a bit like the Matrix, actually. The core concept is that we do not experience reality directly, not at all.
What do we experience? We experience a reconstruction of reality that our brain creates for us. We take in millions and millions of bits of data through our eyes and ears, and our brain just filters it, deletes most of it, distorts some of it, and then presents us with a map of the world.
And the map is not the territory, the famous saying.
The map is not the territory, and because we are creatures of habit, we tend to build the same maps over and over again. The authors use a great metaphor of the brain as a computer running programs.
Or apps. We're running apps.
We're running apps, and some of them are fantastic. The How to Drive a Car app is very useful. You don't have to think about it. You just do it.
Yeah.
But we also have, outdated apps, glitches, malware.
Give me an example of a glitch in a normal person.
Okay, let's take public speaking. Imagine a 7-year-old kid in school. The teacher asks a question. The kid stands up, gets the answer completely wrong, and the whole class laughs.
Oof. I can feel that in my stomach just thinking about it.
Right. In that instant, the child's brain writes a program. It's a protection program. It says, Safety Protocol Alpha. Standing up in front of groups equals pain and humiliation. Therefore, do not do IT.
And for a 7-year-old, that's a brilliant program.
It's a highly effective survival mechanism for a kid navigating the social jungle of the playground.
Absolutely.
But now, let's fast forward 30 years. That kid is a 37-year-old marketing manager. They have a brilliant idea. They need to present it to the board to get the promotion. They stand up, and what happens?
Their throat closes up,
Mm-hmm.
palms get sweaty, the brain just goes completely blank.
The app is launching. The brain is screaming, danger, danger. I'm executing the save you from humiliation protocol. But in the context of a 37-year-old's career, it's not a protection feature anymore, is it?
No, it's a glitch. It's malware. It's undermining their success.
It's holding them back. So the NLP approach isn't you're a coward. It's you are running second grade trauma.x and we need to uninstall it.
I love that. And this brings in those two pillars of the book you mentioned, awareness and choice.
Exactly. You cannot uninstall a program you don't even know exists. Most people just think, oh, I'm just naturally bad at public speaking. They make it about their identity.
I am a shy person, or I'm an anxious person.
That is such a dangerous sentence. Once you say I am, it feels permanent. It feels like your DNA. NLP says, no, no, no. You aren't shy. You are doing shyness. You are running a strategy of shyness. And strategies can be changed. Identities are much, much harder to shift.
Oh, this brings us back to that why versus how concept. I want to drill down on this because I think it's the biggest hurdle for people who are used to traditional therapy.
It's a big shift.
If I'm depressed or anxious or stuck, my first instinct is to ask why. Why am I like this?
And that's a very human instinct.
I do.
We are meaning-making machines. But the authors argue that asking why can sometimes be a trap.
A trap? How?
Well, you can spend 10 years in therapy discovering that you're anxious because your father was very critical of you.
Okay, so now I know. I have the insight. But I'm still anxious when I have to give a presentation.
Exactly. Insight does not always equal change. Knowing why you have a flat tire doesn't inflate the tire.
So NLP is the tire pump.
NLP is the tire pump. It asks, how are you doing the anxiety right now in this moment?
That sounds almost insulting, though. How are you doing it? Like I'm choosing to be miserable.
I know it sounds provocative, but it's actually incredibly empowering. It assumes you are the captain of your own ship, even if you've forgotten how to steer. The question forces you to look at the mechanics.
Okay.
So when you feel anxious, what happens first? Do you make a picture of yourself failing? Is that picture bright or is it dark? Do you say something to yourself like, you're going to mess this up?
So if I can figure out the recipe for my anxiety,
Yeah.
the specific repeatable steps, I can mess up the recipe on purpose.
Exactly. If the recipe for a cake requires 3 eggs and you only put in 1, you don't get a cake. You get something else.
Right.
If the recipe for your anxiety requires a loud, critical internal voice and we change that voice to sound like Mickey Mouse.
Wait, hold on. Does that actually work? Changing the internal voice to Mickey Mouse?
It's a classic NLP technique. It sounds completely ridiculous, but I want you to try being terrified of a critical internal voice when it sounds like a cartoon mouse on helium.
I can't. It's impossible.
It breaks the pattern. It scrambles the code. The fear requires a serious, menacing tone to function. You change the tone, you break the function.
That is hacking. That is literal biohacking for your own emotions.
It is. And once you realize you can hack your own code, you stop being a victor of your brain and you start being the operator.
Okay, let's talk about writing new code then. Section 2. The toolkit compelling futures. I think a lot of people, myself included, roll their eyes at visualization. It feels very new age, very manifesting your reality.
Yeah.
But McDermott and Yago are talking about something much more mechanical here, right?
Very much so. This is not just daydreaming or wishful thinking. They're talking about creating a compelling future. And the key word there is compelling.
So what makes it compelling?
It's a representation of a future state so vivid, so detailed, that it actually impacts your neurology in the present moment.
The text mentions the high achiever archetype, athletes, CEOs. They don't just hope they win. They've already won in their heads, sometimes hundreds of times.
It's the difference between saying, gosh, I hope this meeting goes well, and virtually living through the meeting in your mind. Seeing the specific nods of agreement, hearing the specific questions people ask, and feeling the solid grip of the handshake at the end when the deal is done.
Okay, but how? This is where we need to get technical. The book talks about submodalities.
Submodalities. Yes, it sounds like something out of Star Trek, doesn't it?
It real does.
But it's just the code behind the code. The book uses the VAK system, visual, auditory, kinesthetic. Submodalities are the fine-tuning settings within those systems. Let's do a live experiment. I want you to try this right now.
Okay, I'm ready. Let's do it.
I want you to think of a memory that makes you mildly annoyed. Nothing traumatic, just, something irritating. Maybe someone cut you off in traffic, or a rude waiter.
Okay, got it. I'm thinking of a guy who stole my parking spot at the grocery store last week. The guy in the big red truck.
Perfect. Okay, hold that image. Now look at the picture in your mind. Is it black and white, or is it in color?
It's color. Very vivid red truck. I can see it clearly.
Is it a moving movie or a still photograph?
It's a movie. I could see him pulling in, and it's sort of playing on a loop in my head.
Is it 3D, like you're there, or is it flat, like a screen? Is it near to you or far away?
It's 3D, and it feels like it's right in front of my face. It's very close.
Okay. Now, I want you to mentally take a controller and drain all the color out of it. Turn the saturation down to 0. Make it a grainy black and white image.
Okay. It's gray now.
Good. Now take that little movie and freeze it. Make it a still photograph. A blurry black and white photo. Now take that little photo and mentally push it 50 feet away from you. Push it way, way back until it's the size of a postage stamp.
Okay. It's tiny now. It's just a dot.
How annoyed do you feel about that guy right now?
Honestly, not really at all. It feels distant, irrelevant. It's just a little speck in the distance. The feeling is gone.
You just changed the submodalities. You didn't change the content. The guy still stole your spot. That fact is the same. But you changed the structure of how you represented it to yourself. The size, the color, the distance, the movement, and the emotional impact completely evaporated.
That is wild. I literally felt the tension drop out of my shoulders as I pushed it away.
That is the power of NLP. And here's why this is so critical for compelling futures. Most people, when they think about their goals, they create images that are weak. They're black and white, they're fuzzy, they're distant, they're still images.
So if I say I want to write a book, but the image in my head is a blurry picture of a book on a shelf way off in the distance.
Your brain interprets low resolution as low priority. It doesn't get excited, it doesn't release dopamine, there's no motivation there. If you want a compelling future, you need to do the exact opposite of what we just did with that annoying truck.
I need IMAX. 4K, surround sound.
You need IMAX. Make the image of you holding your finished book 20 feet tall. Make the colors neon bright. Turn up the volume of people congratulating you. And most importantly, step into the image so you're looking out of your own eyes, not looking at a picture of yourself.
Oh, that's a key distinction.
It's huge. Feel the weight of the book in your hands. That's the kinesthetic part. Feel the texture of the paper. Smell the ink.
Okay, I can see that.
When you create a future with that level of sensory richness, your brain can't really tell the difference between the visualization and a real memory. It gives you a taste of the success now. And that creates this incredible magnetic pull. You aren't pushing yourself to work, you are being pulled toward that amazing feeling.
It's a way to hack your own motivation system.
Exactly. It creates what they call congruence. Your unconscious mind wants your external reality to match that vivid, exciting internal map you just built.
Okay, I'm sold on the future. But we still have to deal with the present and just the sheer amount of information coming at us every second. Section 3 talks about meta programs.
Metaprograms. These are the bouncers at the nightclub of your mind.
The bouncers. I like that.
At any given moment, there are millions of bits of information hitting your senses. The temperature of the room, the hum of your computer, the feeling of your socks, the light on the wall. If you paid conscious attention to all of it, you'd go insane.
You'd be completely paralyzed.
So your brain has to have filters,
Yeah.
metaprograms. They decide what gets in and what gets deleted. They sort and organize our experience without us even noticing. For example, some people have a program that sorts for same.
What does that mean?
When they walk into a new room, they automatically notice everything that is familiar. Oh, that's the same chair I have at home. Oh, the layout is just like my old office. They're comforted by similarity.
And other people, I assume, sort for difference.
Exactly. They walk into the same room and their brain immediately spots the one tile that's cracked. They notice what is new or wrong or changed.
I can immediately see how that would be huge in a career. If you're a difference person, you'd make a great quality control inspector, but maybe a terrible board assembly line worker.
Precisely. And imagine the conflict in a marriage. If you're a big picture sorter and your partner sorts for detail, planning a vacation is going to be a nightmare.
Oh my God, yes.
You're talking about the vibe and the adventure, and they are obsessing over the exact thread count of the hotel sheets and the font on the museum tickets.
And you think they're being difficult and ruining the fun.
You think they're being pedantic and annoying, and they think you're being vague and careless, but really, you're just running different sorting software. Understanding this changes everything. You stop judging and you start translating.
That leads perfectly into modeling. The book calls this the heart of NLP.
Modeling is really the core philosophy. It's built on a simple but powerful premise. If something can be described, it can be taught and learned. Excellence is replicable.
So if someone is amazing at public speaking or negotiation or tennis, it's not magic. They're doing specific things even if they don't know what they are.
They are running a strategy. And the text references Timothy Galway here, the inner game of tennis guy. This is such a great connection.
I love his work.
It's a classic example. Galway was a tennis coach, and he noticed something really weird. When he gave his students technical instructions like keep your wrist stiff, hold the racket at a 45-degree angle, they actually got worse.
They got stiff. They were overthinking it.
Their conscious mind, what Galway called self-one, was trying to control this complex motor skill, and it was just interfering with the body's natural unconscious ability.
So what did he do?
He changed the instruction completely. He told them, don't try to hit the ball well. Just watch the seams of the ball as it comes toward you. And when it hits the ground, say bounce. And when it hits your racket, say hit.
Bounce, hit. That's it.
That's it. By giving the conscious mind this simple, almost silly observation task, he distracted it. He kept it busy. And while the conscious mind was focused on saying bounce, the body, what it called self-2, just hit the ball perfectly. The interference dropped to zero.
It's the difference between trying to do it and simply observing and letting it happen.
Right. And the NLP coach takes this a step further with something called self-modeling. It's not just about copying Elon Musk or Serena Williams. It's about modeling yourself.
This is a really cool concept.
Yeah.
Because we've all had those days where we are just on, everything clicks.
Exactly. Think of a time you crushed a presentation or a time you were incredibly charming and funny on a date. Instead of just saying, wow, that was a good day, investigate it. Be a detective of your own excellence.
What do you mean?
Ask the questions. How are you breathing? What did you eat for breakfast that day? What were you focusing on right before you walked into the room? What was your posture like?
I remember one time I gave a toast at a wedding, And I was surprisingly funny.
Hmm.
And now that I think about it, I realize I wasn't thinking about myself at all. I was looking at the groom and just thinking about how happy he looked. My focus was totally external.
Boom. There it is. That is a critical piece of your success strategy, external focus. So the next time you have to speak, don't just hope it goes well. Deliberately shift your focus external. Run the code that you know already worked. You are harvesting your own best practices.
That is so empowering. It means I don't have to become someone else. I just have to become the best version of myself more consistently.
That's the whole game.
Okay, now, we have to go to the dark side. We've talked about success, but the book spends a lot of time on failure.
Yeah.
In section 4, deconstructing failure. This part actually made me wince a little bit. It hit a bit close to home.
It's the section that challenges our ego the most, for sure.
The core thesis is just brutal. Failure is not an accident. Failure has a structure, it has a recipe. Just like baking a cake, if you follow the steps for failure, you will get failure every single time.
It completely takes the morality out of it. We tend to think failure means we're bad or unworthy people. NLP says no, failure is just a result produced by a system.
Let's look at the case study of Bill's mail order business. I felt so bad for Bill. Can you walk us through his story?
Bill is the classic entrepreneur. He starts a little business selling gadgets from his spare bedroom. It's a one-man show. He answers the phone, he packs the boxes, he licks the stamps himself. He has total, absolute control. And he's successful.
He's running the spare bedroom pattern.
Right. High control, low overhead, it works. So naturally, he decides to expand. He buys a warehouse, he hires 10 employees, and within a year, the entire business collapses into bankruptcy.
Now the usual story we tell ourselves is, oh, the market changed, or he got lazy, or he just wasn't cut out for it.
Exactly, we'd make it about his character. But the NLP analysis is much colder, much more mechanical. Bill didn't fail because he was lazy. He probably worked harder in that warehouse than he ever did in the bedroom.
So why did he fail?
He failed because he continued to run the spare bedroom pattern in a warehouse context.
He was trying to lick all 10,000 stamps himself, even though he had staff.
He was trying to maintain total control. He was micromanaging everyone. He was the bottleneck in his own system. The strategy, do everything myself, which worked perfectly in context A, was completely fatal in context B.
So it wasn't a character flaw at all. It was a software compatibility error.
Yes. And that's tragic, but it's also hopeful, because if Bill had realized, oh, the old software won't run on this new hardware, I need to install the delegation module and the trust module, he could have succeeded. He was running the wrong code.
The other story, the driving test story, is even more subtle. This one blew my mind because it's such a tiny, tiny detail.
This is a perfect example of the map is not the territory. A young man keeps failing his driving test. He knows he's a safe driver. He checks his mirrors constantly. But 3 times, the examiner fails him for not checking mirrors.
And he's furious. He feels persecuted. The examiner hates me. It's unfair.
He's a victim. But when an NLP coach actually sat with him and modeled his behavior, they found the glitch. It was tiny. The young man had excellent peripheral vision. When he checked the mirrors, he only moved his eyes. He didn't move his head.
And the examiner sitting next to him can't see his eyes moving. Not from that angle.
Exactly. For the examiner's map of reality, the check only happens if he sees the head turn. That's the evidence. The young man's internal reality was, I am a safe driver. The external result he kept getting was failure.
So the fix wasn't drive better. He was already driving well.
No, the fix was one line of code. Make your head movements visible. He added that one little behavior, and he passed immediately on the next try.
That is just profound. It implies that so many of us might be failing at things in our lives, in our marriages, at work, not because we're bad people, but because we're missing one tiny, invisible behavioral step that we don't even know we're missing.
The difference that makes the difference. That's a core NLP motto, finding that one small lever that swings the whole door open.
The book also talks about the language of failure. The word failure itself is actually dangerous.
Words act as neurological anchors. When you say the word, I failed, your body likely slumps. Your energy drops. You enter a state of shutdown. And you cannot learn, you can't be creative when you are in a shutdown state.
They tell this incredible story about an 80-year-old man, the heart failure story. This one actually made me laugh out loud, but it's also deeply sad.
It's a perfect illustration. An 80-year-old man visits his doctor and is told he has heart failure. And the man is confused and terrified. He says to the doctor, But I walked here, I'm breathing, how can my heart have failed?
Right. If my car engine fails, the car stops on the side of the road. If my heart fails, shouldn't I be dead?
To the doctor, the word failure is a cold, technical term meaning reduced efficiency or not operating at 100%. To the patient, the word failure means the end, it's over. The label didn't match the reality of his experience, but the label itself caused immense distress.
So the book suggests we need to reframe the word completely.
Failure is really feedback. That's the classic NLP reframe. If you get a result you didn't want, it's just feedback. It's data. The system is telling you this input produces this output. If you don't like the output, change the input. Don't beat yourself up. Just adjust the dials and try again.
Okay, let's move on to section 5. Deconstructing success. If failure has a recipe, then success must have one too.
It absolutely does. And the NLP definition of success is really interesting. It's not just getting the goal. It is achieving the goal effectively, elegantly, and easily.
I love that word, elegantly. Anyone can brute force a solution with enough time and money. But to do it elegantly, that's mastery. That's a different level.
And that requires feedback loops. The book makes a quick cultural note here. It mentions that British culture tends to play down success. You know, the stiff upper lip, don't make a fuss.
Right. Whereas American culture tends to celebrate it much more openly.
But regardless of the culture, to achieve elegance, you need what they call feed forward.
I've heard of feedback my whole life. What on earth is feed forward?
Feedback looks back. That presentation went wrong because of slide 3. Feed forward looks ahead. It asks, given what we just learned from slide 3, how do we adjust our approach for the next meeting?
Oh, I see.
It takes the data from the past and immediately applies it to the next future action. It turns the mistake into fuel for the very next maneuver. It's like a guided missile correcting its course in real time rather than just crashing and analyzing the wreckage later.
Okay, let's zoom out a bit. We've talked a lot about the mechanics of the mind. Now let's talk about the fuel for the machine. Section 6. The wheel of life and personal balance.
This is the petrol tank analogy. It's so simple, but so many of us ignore it. You cannot drive a car on an empty tank, period. Yet so many high performers try to run their lives on fumes.
I feel personally attacked by this section. I think I've been running on a little blinking warning light for about 3 years straight.
Laughs. We all do. We treat maintenance and refueling as a luxury. We think, oh, I'll relax when I'm dead, or I'll take a break after this huge project is done. But the car stops running before the project is done if you don't refuel it.
The book gives a very specific list of ways to invest in self. And I want to read through these because they aren't just the obvious things like go to a spa. It says time alone, relaxation, new stimuli, presents and treats, being with people who make you feel good. And my favorite, and probably the hardest one for most people, praising yourself.
That last one is the real kicker, isn't it? We all run a very rigorous internal critique program. We are experts at scolding ourselves for every little mistake. But how often do we deliberately run an internal praise program?
Almost never.
The book argues that praise is a necessary fuel. It's not arrogance, it's maintenance. If you don't acknowledge your own wins, big or small, your brain stops striving for them. Why bother if there's no reward?
And that new stimulant one is interesting too. That's about feeding the brain, right?
Yes. The brain craves novelty. If you do the exact same thing every single day, your world shrinks. New stimuli, even something as simple as taking a different route to work or reading a book on a totally new topic, it wakes up dormant neural pathways. It keeps the machine running smoothly and creatively.
Let's shift gears to section 7, relationships. Because we don't operate in a vacuum. We have to deal with other people, and other people are. Well, they're often buggy.
They are running their own incompatible software, for sure.
Exactly. The book introduces a concept I'd never heard before called the we. It sounds
Yeah.
a bit romantic, but they mean it in a very technical sense.
They do. They argue that in any significant relationship, there are actually 3 entities. There's you, there's me, and there is the relationship itself, the we. It's like a Venn diagram with that overlapping space in the middle.
And the health of the relationship depends on actively nurturing that third entity, the we.
But, and this is key without losing the I, they talk about the danger of what they call the slavery of compromise, where both parties give up so much of themselves to keep the peace that nobody is actually happy.
The classic example, I want pizza, you want sushi, so we go out for stale tacos that neither of us actually wants.
Exactly. That's a weak we. A strong we is one that actually enhances both individuals. But to navigate the inevitable conflict, you need a tool. And this is where perceptual positions comes in. This is probably the most immediately useful tool in the entire book.
Okay, I want to role play this because it's hard to visualize just hearing about it.
Hmm.
Let's say I'm in a fight with my spouse. The classic, you never do the dishes fight.
Okay, let's do it. So, position 1 is self. You are looking out through your own eyes. What do you see? What do you feel?
Okay, I'm me. I'm annoyed. I'm thinking, I worked all day. I'm tired. Why is she nagging me? I do plenty of other things around here. I'm defensive. I feel attacked.
Right. And this is where we usually live. Position 1, it's very convincing. In this position, you are right and they are wrong. End of story. Now, I want you to physically shift your body a little. Imagine you are floating out of your own body and stepping directly into hers. This is position 2, the other. Look back at yourself through her eyes. What does she see? What does she feel?
Okay, wow. All right, her. I look over and I see a guy sitting on the couch on his phone while the kitchen is a complete disaster. I feel exhausted. I feel like I'm carrying the entire mental load of the household alone. I feel unappreciated and invisible.
Totally different landscape, isn't it?
Yeah. Suddenly the word nagging feels completely wrong. It feels more like desperation.
Okay, now for the magic step. Step out of her body, float up to the ceiling like a fly on the wall. This is position 3, the observer. Look down at these two people in the kitchen, the guy on the couch, the woman at the sink. What's the pattern you see from up here?
I see a loop, a repeating pattern. She asks for help, he feels attacked, so he withdraws into his phone. Because he withdraws, she feels ignored, so she asks again, but louder, which makes him withdraw more. It's just a cycle.
You see the system. From the ceiling, you don't feel the anger or the exhaustion. You just see the mechanics of the interaction. And once you see the structure, you can fix it. You can realize, oh, if the guy on the couch just stands up and puts a hand on her back and says, I see you're tired, the entire loop breaks.
That is incredibly powerful. It forces you to process the whole system, not just your little corner of it.
It creates objectivity. It pulls you out of the emotional flood and gives you a place to think clearly.
All right, moving on to section 8, brain power and breaking habits. We've talked about installing new programs, but what about deleting the old ones, the malware?
This is the computer file cleanup. We accumulate so much mental trash over the years, old resentments, outdated beliefs about ourselves, ancient fears. The book uses the metaphor of emptying the recycle bin. You have to do it periodically to free up disk space.
The text mentions unlearning, which is interesting. They say the toddler doesn't remember learning to walk. It just becomes automatic. But sometimes we need to bring that automatic, unhelpful habit back into our conscious awareness so we can delete it.
Exactly. And one of the most powerful ways to do that is by changing your time perspective. They discuss this with a case study of a guy named Charles, using the through time perspective.
Tell us about Charles. What was his issue?
Charles was extremely reactive. He lived completely in the moment, what they call in time, but in a bad way. If a small problem popped up at work, he would explode. He was stressed constantly. He couldn't see past the immediate crisis in front of his face.
So he had no long-term buffer, no perspective.
None. So his coach taught him to shift to through time, to mentally step back and look at the timeline of his life as if it were a road stretching out in front of him. And he taught him to ask one simple question. How would I feel if this exact same thing happened again tomorrow and the next day? What if this happened every day for the next 10 years?
Oh, that's good, because if I spill my coffee today, it's annoying, but it's a one-off. But if I imagine spilling my coffee every single day for 10 years,
It becomes an unbearable catastrophe. It forces you to see the trajectory. Charles realized that his reactive anger, if repeated over 10 years, would absolutely destroy his career and his health. Seeing the long-term impact immediately changed his short-term reaction to the small problem. It gave him perspective. It took him out of the emotional flood and put him into an analytical, long-term view.
it's literally time travel as a coping mechanism. I love it.
Finally, we reach section 9, spiritual aliveness and the zone. Now, the book makes a very clear point to say that spiritual doesn't necessarily mean religious here. No, in NLP terms, spiritual refers to connectedness. It's the highest logical level of our experience. It's about your connection to something larger than yourself, whether that's your community, a cause, nature, or the universe. It's about being in congruence, where your actions, your values, and your identity are all aligned and in tune.
They make a really beautiful distinction between purpose and goals.
This is one of our favorite parts of the book. The goal is the destination. Purpose is the fuel. A goal is finite. I want to climb Mount Everest. Once you do it, it's done. The goal is achieved.
Right.
But purpose is infinite. I want to be an explorer who pushes my limits. You can do that forever. Purpose is what sustains you when the goals aren't being met, when the weather is bad on the mountain.
There's a phrase in the text I absolutely loved, and I think this is where we should land the plane. The Museum of Personal History. It's a concept from Robert Dilts.
It is such a powerful and evocative image. Think of your mind as a museum.
Okay, I'm picturing it. Marble floors, high ceilings, very quiet. Echoes.
And in the various wings of this museum, you have your past. You have the Hall of Failures. You have the Gallery of Heartbreak. You have the diorama of that embarrassing thing you said at a party in 2004.
Oh God, I visit that diorama way too often. It has its own little velvet rope around it.
We all do. We tend to wander into the Hall of Failures, set up a sleeping bag, and just live there. We relive the exhibits over and over again.
We let the past dictate our present and our future.
But the concept here is this. It's a museum. You can visit it. You can honor it. You can learn from the exhibits. But you don't have to live there. And more importantly, you are the architect. You can build a new wing.
We can build a new wing.
You can start laying the foundation for the Hall of Future Success right now, today. You can curate new exhibits. You are not a hostage held by the artifacts of your past.
That is the ultimate reframe. Stop sleeping on the floor of the museum and start drafting the blueprints for a new extension.
And finally, there's the paradox of trying. Trying implies struggle and effort. The book encourages finding ways to enter the zone or a flow state. And this happens when you stop monitoring yourself so closely, when you stop trying so hard.
And Ian McDermott shares a personal ritual here, saying grace, but not necessarily in a religious way.
It's a pause. It's a pattern interrupt. Before a meal, just stopping for a moment to be present, to acknowledge the food, the company, the moment itself. It interrupts the frantic, automatic pace of the day, and it grounds you in the now. It's a very simple, practical way to cultivate that spiritual aliveness they talk about.
So we have covered a massive amount of ground today. We've looked at the structure of failure, poor Bill and his warehouse. We've learned how to visualize a compelling future in IMAX quality. We've learned to use perceptual positions to save our relationships from the dishwasher fight. And we've learned to move out of the Museum of Personal History.
It really is a comprehensive manual for the mind.
If the listener takes away just one thing, one tool to put in their pocket from this whole conversation, what do you think it should be?
For me, it's the core concept of structure. The idea that your problems aren't personal defects, they are structural glitches. Your anxiety has a structure. Your procrastination has a structure. Your failures have a structure. If you can get curious about the structure, the how, you can change it. You are the programmer, not just the user of the program.
I love that. And
Yeah.
I think I'd add the check your mirrors lesson. Make your head movements visible in your work, in your love, in your life. Don't just assume people know what you're thinking or doing on the inside. Show them. Communicate the internal state externally.
Beautifully put.
That's it for this deep dive into the NLP Coach. We hope you found some useful keys to your own manual today. Go build that new wing of the museum. Thanks for listening.